Ready?
Ready.
A very good morning. This is Asia First Weekend. I'm Keith D'Souza. We're talking property this morning, but a little different this morning. We're speaking with Paul Ho. Paul is the Chief Mortgage Officer at Icompareloan. We're going to find out how he got into the business and what a serial entrepreneur's profile is like. Paul, welcome to the program. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for doing this.
Hi, good morning, Keith. Thanks for having me again.
Pleasure. Let's talk about, before we talk about the property part of it all, we've been told it's rather quiet out there in the property world, at least here in Singapore. But let's talk about how you got into the business, Paul. Why did you identify this particular niche? You know, if somebody wanted a property loan or a mortgage, they just walked into a bank, a preferred bank, and got it. What was the difference? How did you identify that there was a gap between the provision of services and perhaps to the customer?
Well, when I first started, I'm very numerical. So what I did was I looked at my own housing loan, and every time on the second or third year, the rates would go up. And then I would start looking for another bank. And during that time when I was doing that, it was in 2002, 2003. It wasn't very common at that time. So I figured out that interest is interest, right? So why should I be paying more? Because there is no apparent danger or whatsoever for switching my housing loan to another provider. So I started looking around. And you know, I was doing my first refinancing. I think probably in 2003, 2004, I was starting to do that. And then subsequently, I do refinancing every 2 to 3 years. So when come the year 2008, I left my job in a French telco organization was supposedly to join a hedge fund as an intern because I was in telco at that time and I wanted to switch career. And after I left my job within 1 month, and 1 month maybe in 2 weeks, then we have that, you know, financial crisis, Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers. So during that time, you know, the hedge fund was so busy, they were having, you know, phones ringing off the hook. So it was very, very difficult for me to even, you know, ask them to intern at their place. I know they were in trouble. I mean, at least not in trouble themselves, but, you know, they were bugged till no end. So that time, and I said, oh, so my aspiration of becoming a fund manager, starting through becoming an analyst first, has probably just gone down the drain. So I said, what could I do? And then I remembered I was doing refinancing, you know, something to do with finance. So then I started talking to all the banks to tie up with them to become an introducer, or so to speak, a distributor, so to speak.
Was it difficult to, you know, to get the doors at the banks open, saying that perhaps you were a novice at all of this, and then you said, I'm going to do this? Did they take you seriously?
No, in fact not. They looked at my company and they said, your company is very new, and your company has a very techy sounding name. And you know, why are you in this, right?
Or why should we be
why are we putting you on the panel and things like that? So they gave me a hard time. So one bank even asked for my thesis, right? So I told them I was, you know, I have an MBA in so and so, my thesis, and, you know, financial management, portfolio management and stuff like that. So I even have to send them as a supplement to their application to their bank's management, so that they wouldn't get questioned by their management, like, why are you onboarding this guy? Who is he? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
So how difficult? So when did the Icompareloan actually take off?
Icompareloan was started in 2011 thereabouts. We started with another brand, and we did well for a moment of time, and then the market changed, and people were looking not just on property and then getting the loan by the way. People were looking for the loan specifically for the loan. So in 2011 we realized that, and then we have to play catch up. Yeah.
Right. You know, in Singapore, is refinancing, well, currently now people understand the concept. When you were starting out, was refinancing part and parcel of owning a property?
It wasn't. In those days, there were the Wild Wild East days.
Indeed, when the heady days,
The
of
heady days,
of,
right? You
property.
buy anything, you make money, and then you feel invincible, right? I mean, I think a lot of people still do. They feel invincible. They tell their stories of how they made money, but during those days, basically anyone makes money in those expansion phase, and people weren't looking particularly at interest cost. Yeah.
Mhm. So, and at this particular point in time, has it become, second nature? I lock in my loan for 3 years, after which, or a certain period of time, and then after which, I'm going to look for another loan.
I think there are a few things, right? When people look at the financing, they typically after a few maybe few years, 2 years, 3 years, they will be looking around and said, are there any cheaper packages out there in the marketplace for refinancing? Then the next thing they'll be looking at is sometimes they said, I want a floating rate or I want a fixed rate, but I may be selling my property, right? Especially those people who have had their properties for 5 to 10 years. Some of them, I said, ask them, why are you selling your property? So they said, maybe planning to move near to where the children's school are, to get qualified for 1 kilometer and things like that.
And right now, how much lower can interest rates go? And now the Fed is talking about cutting interest rates again. So, is your business perhaps taking a hit, sir?
I think for us, when the interest rate doesn't move, then we will take a hit. When it goes up or it goes down, or when the structure changes, a lot of people are caught off guard because, like I said, we do not make the right bets all the time. And when we can show you all the fundamentals and macroeconomics and so on, but we never expected the trade war to come in so strong. We expected it to be a midterm thing, after the midterm, Congress elections will be over, but it persisted for much longer, and we do not expect it, for this moment to last a short time. It should hold on for a long time, and we are seeing that economies of the US, of China is hit, then Taiwan is hit, then Singapore chip manufacturers are hit, then Chinese not being so wealthy, they are hit, they're not coming to Singapore to shop. A lot of this, the whole chain of events. Yeah.
So, with all of this, and it being a buyer's market, should not are people, going into the market property-wise as well?
They are always going into it. They always want to. People are still asking about properties. They'll be like, wow, this place is so nice, it's so cheap, it's it has come down a lot. I mean, the prices have softened, so they want to come in. But a lot of these people who want to come in typically have 1 or 2 or 3 properties, so they cannot come in unless they're willing to pay the additional buyer stamp duty.
We are speaking with Paul Ho. He is the Chief Mortgage Officer at Icompareloan. We're taking the temperature of the market, as we always do, on Asia First Weekend Edition. This is the Property Show. We'll come back, talk to Paul about where he sees things going, and perhaps it being a buyer's market, what is out there for the buyer, and of course the knock-on effect of the seller. This is the Property Show on Asia First Weekend. I'm Keith D'Souza. Stay with us. Good morning. Thank you, sir. Hang on.